Ngozi, did you hear what they found in Mama Rosa's kitchen this morning?
I heard something, but I did not want to believe it. Tell me it is a lie.
I wish I could. The herbalist himself came to the market. He said the charm was real. And the water, Ngozi, the water came from the mortuary. And we have been eating her food. Every day. Every single day. Sit down, my sister. Let me tell you how it all started. Because this thing did not begin today.
What if the food you eat every day was cooked with water from the dead? What if the secret ingredient in your favorite meal was never meant for the living? Stay right there, because what happened at Eke Market in Onitsha will make you think twice before you ever eat at a stranger's pot again. Everyone in Eke Market knew Mama Rosa's spot. You could find her right at the center of the market, tucked between the fabric sellers and the yam traders, with her large black pots bubbling under a tin roof that's seen better days. The smell, oh, the smell, it traveled far. Pepper soup so rich it could make a grown man close his eyes. Jollof rice so red and fragrant that market women abandoned their stalls just to come and eat. But that was the strange part, because Mama Rosa had not always been like this. 5 years before the chaos, before the accusations and the tears and the herbalist's terrible revelation, Mama Rosa was just an ordinary woman, struggling at the edge of the market. Her name was Rosa Okafor, a widow, a mother of 3, a woman who had buried her husband, sold her sewing machine, and used the last of her savings to buy 2 pots, some firewood, and a small bag of rice. She had started small, very small. A plastic table, a wooden bench, a handwritten sign that said, "Rosa's Kitchen, eat well, pay small." But nobody came. Days passed, then weeks. The food was good. Rosa was an excellent cook. Everyone in her compound knew this. But the market was full of competition. 3 other Mama Put vendors operated within 50 meters of her spot. Mama Chioma with her big laugh and bigger portions, Mama Bisi from Lagos who made the best fried plantain anyone had ever tasted, and old Madam Titi whose pepper soup recipe was said to be 40 years old. Rosa sat behind her pots and watched customers walk past her every single day. She prayed, she cried at night, she reduced her prices, she added more pepper, more seasoning, more effort, but still, the crowd chose others. Her children were growing, the school fees were due, the landlord knocked twice. Rosa was desperate. And that is when she met the man called Brother Chuks. Nobody really knew where Brother Chuks came from. He appeared in Eke Market one Harmattan season, wearing a long brown coat despite the dry heat, carrying a leather bag that nobody ever saw him open in public. He sold herbs and roots and small wrapped parcels near the back of the market, where the butchers walked and the smell of raw meat mixed with the smell of incense. He had a soft voice and warm eyes. He smiled like someone who already knew your problems before you told him. Rosa met him on a Thursday. She had packed her food early, another day with almost no customers, and she was walking home, tired and broken, when Brother Chuks stepped into her path. "Sister," he said quietly, "I see a woman who is carrying a heavy load." Rosa stopped. Something about his voice made her stand still. "My food is good," she said, almost defending herself to a stranger. "But nobody comes." Brother Chuks tilted his head slowly. "And what if I told you that I have something that will make them come? Not next year, not next month, tomorrow morning." Rosa looked at him for a long time. She was a churchwoman. She wore a cross around her neck. She had a framed Bible verse above her door at home. She knew, somewhere deep inside, that she should walk away. But the thought of her children's school fees, the landlord's voice, the empty pots, she did not walk away. Brother Chuks gave her 3 things. The first was a small black powder wrapped in a white cloth. He told her to mix it into her cooking pot, just once, he said, and never touch it with her bare hands. The second was a bottle of liquid, dark, almost colorless, but not quite. It had no smell, or rather, it smelled like nothing, which was somehow worse than smelling like something. "What is this?" Rosa held up the bottle. "Water," Brother Chuks said simply. "Special water. Add it when you boil your soup. Just a little. It does not change the taste, but the people, they will not be able to explain why they keep coming back." Rosa felt a chill move through her, even under the harmattan sun. "Where does this water come from?" she whispered. Brother Chuks smiled, but he did not answer. Instead, he gave her the third thing, a small folded paper with strange markings on it. He told her to bury it beneath the left leg of her cooking table and never show it to anyone. Rosa went home and sat with those 3 things on her kitchen table for a long, long time. She did not sleep that night. By morning, she had used all 3. The change was immediate. It was as if someone had redirected the entire flow of the market directly to Rosa's pots. By 7 a.m. in the morning, there was already a line. By 9, the line stretched past the fabric sellers. By noon, customers were standing and eating because there was no space left to sit. By 2 in the afternoon, her pots were empty. Completely, totally, gloriously empty for the first time in her life as a food vendor. Rosa stood behind her stall with trembling hands and tears she didn't quite understand. People ate and came back the next day. Then they brought their friends, then their office colleagues, then their husbands. Workers from the nearby motor park abandoned their regular spots. School teachers drove across town on lunch break. Even the market chairman, a round, serious man who never praised anyone, sat down at Rosa's bench and ate 2 full plates of ofianobu with pounded yam, then asked for a small takeaway wrap for his wife. In 3 months, Rosa had expanded her table. In 6 months, she had a canopy and a generator. In 1 year, Mama Rosa's kitchen was the most popular food spot in all of Eke Market. She employed 2 girls to help her serve. She paid school fees on time. She bought a small television for her children. She repainted her house. And still, the customers kept coming. But guilt, like a termite, works slowly, and it works from the inside. Rosa began to notice things. She noticed that some of her regular customers seemed almost unable to stop coming. A man named Emeka, a trader who ate at her spot every single day, once told her with a confused laugh that he had tried eating at Mama Chioma's stall, his old favorite, but the food had tasted like sand in his mouth, and he had come straight back to Rosa. She noticed that her most loyal customers sometimes looked slightly dazed when they finished eating, as though waking from a pleasant dream. She noticed one quiet evening while washing her pots that she had never asked Brother Chuks a second question. Where did that water come from? She had asked it once. He had smiled and said nothing. And she, desperate and frightened and exhausted, had not pushed further. Now, in the still of the evening, with soapy water on her hands and no customers watching, the question returned with the weight of a stone. Where did that water come from? The answer came from a woman named Blessing. Blessing was a nurse at the General Hospital, 3 kilometers from the market. She was also a customer, a loyal one, shamefully loyal in a way that now bothered her. One evening, Blessing came to Rosa's stall, not to eat, but to talk. She sat down. She ordered nothing. She folded her hands on the table. "Mama Rosa," Blessing said quietly, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to look me in the eye when you answer." Rosa felt ice move through her chest. "There is a man," Blessing said, "who comes to the hospital sometimes. He is not a patient. He is not staff. He comes to the mortuary section late in the evening with a bottle. The security man, my cousin, has seen him twice. He collects water from the..." Blessing stopped. She looked at the table. Then she looked back up. "We found out his name is Chuks, and I have seen him near your stall." The market noise seemed to disappear. Rosa heard nothing but her own heartbeat. "I did not know," Rosa whispered. But even as she said it, she felt the lie land heavily in her own chest. Because had she really not known, Or had she simply chosen not to ask? Blessing left without eating. Rosa sat alone behind her pots as the evening crowd thinned, and she wept. It was a young one named Chidi who broke the story. Chidi was 19, curious, and sold phone accessories 2 stores away from Rosa. He had watched the nurse's visit. He had read lips poorly, but had read expressions perfectly. He had also, 2 weeks before, seen Brother Chuks near the mortuary gate of the hospital himself on an errand for a sick uncle, and had stored the image in his sharp young mind. When the pieces finally connected, Chidi did not go to Rosa. He went to the market union chairman. By the next morning, the whole market knew. The crowd that gathered outside Rosa's stall that Tuesday was the largest crowd the market had ever seen, but this time, no one was there to eat. They came with questions, with anger, with fear, with shame, because half of them had been eating at that stall for months. Rosa stood in the middle of it all, not running, not hiding. She had put on her church blouse, white, with small embroidered flowers at the collar. She had tied her wrapper carefully. She looked like a woman who had decided that if she must face something, she would face it fully dressed. The market chairman demanded the herbalist. Someone fetched a local elder who knew such things. The elder examined the space beneath Rosa's table and found the folded paper, now soft and dark from months in the soil. He held it up. He said only 4 words: "This is not food." The crowd erupted. Rosa raised both hands, not to fight, not to defend. She raised them the way a person raises hands in surrender or in prayer. "I was hungry," she said. Her voice was steady despite her tears. "My children were hungry. I was drowning, and someone handed me a rope. I did not check what the rope was made of." Silence. "I am not asking you to forgive me today. I am only asking you to hear me, because I will spend the rest of my life trying to undo what I did, starting right now." She walked to her stall. She lifted the first pot, a heavy iron pot full of pepper soup that had already begun to simmer for the morning. She turned it over. The soup poured into the gutter. She lifted the second pot, then the third. Everything she emptied. The crowd watched without speaking. Then, and no one could later explain why, one old woman in the crowd began to cry, not in anger, in something more complicated than anger, in the kind of crying that happens when a person sees another person's pain and recognizes it as something human. Brother Chuks was never found. He disappeared from Eke Market as quietly as he had appeared, leaving behind only rumors and that empty leather bag, which a market sweeper later found discarded behind the butcher's section. Rosa's stall remained closed for 2 months. When she returned, she had no canopy, no generator, just the 2 old pots, the wooden bench, and the handwritten sign, which she had rewritten herself, in fresh ink with a new addition at the bottom. Rosa's kitchen. Eat well, pay small. Everything here is honest. That is the only ingredient. The first day back, only 4 people came. But they came clean, and they came by choice. And when they tasted her food, her real food, made from pepper and palm oil and water from a clean tap, and the genuine skill of a woman who had cooked with love her entire life, they nodded slowly. Because real food, it turns out, also has a flavor. It just takes a quieter, more patient tongue to taste it.
In our world, there will always be a Brother Chuks, someone who appears at the moment of your greatest weakness, offering a shortcut that seems too perfect to question. The lesson is not only about charms or mortuary water. The lesson is about the questions we refuse to ask when we are desperate, about the doors we open in the dark and tell ourselves we will examine later in the light. Rosa was not an evil woman. She was a tired woman, and tired people make dangerous choices. But she also showed us something rare, the courage to empty the pot, to lose everything she had built rather than continue building it on a rotten foundation. That kind of courage is harder than starting. It is harder than suffering. It is the hardest thing a human being can do. There is a saying among the elders:
An illa cooked with a lie will fill the stomach, but it will never feed the soul. Rosa chose to empty her pots, even though it meant losing everything she had worked for. But here's the question I want to leave with you today. If you are Rosa, and no one in the market had ever found out, would you have kept using the charm? Or would your conscience have been enough to make you stop? Think carefully before you answer, because your answer says more about you than it does about Rosa. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let us have that honest conversation. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you of someone or something in your own life, please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss a story, because every week we bring you tales from the heart of Africa that will make you feel, think, and grow. And if you have a story from your own community, a real one, a strange one that still keeps you awake at night, leave it in the comments. You never know whose story needs to be told next. Thanks for watching.